Hello, Peter Wierzba here again, back with another follow-up on the politics of resentment, class and conference and other fun stuff. And today I'm here with Tony Bayless. He was a student who worked directly with the class. He was enrolled in it, and he worked with the other classmates and worked with the community and conducted some of the focus groups or casual interviews. And today we're just going to talk to him about his experience and just try and get a better insight into what was done during the class. And so just if you want to tell us what made you interested in taking the course.
Politics of resentment, obviously it was taught by one of my favorite professors here at Parkside, Peggy James, and I was really interested initially with one of the first classes she was teaching, which was tactics and strategy. And so after that, I had asked if she was doing any other courses over the springtime, and so she mentioned politics of resentment, and she had mentioned that there would be field work involved, which got me really excited to go out into the communities, to be able to go talk to people, and just do something a little different outside of just normal paperwork and, you know, sitting at a desk and doing those kinds of things. I like to move around a lot and be free. So getting away from the campus for a class was kind of like a nice change of pace in between all the other classes going on.
Awesome. What would you say was maybe the biggest challenge you had to overcome with this class?
I think the biggest challenge, at least for us between all the students, I think it was kind of like managing our time to be able to get together at, you know, especially when we had that first week when we started, and then we had spring break coming up. And so we didn't get much, we had enough time to be able to do the entire project, but when it came to, you know, individual hours, work schedules, and then also the class loads that we were taking over the semester. So it was kind of just trying to assemble and get together, which was really the biggest part. As far as speaking out to people in the community, I think it was sort of just trying to not make interviews, not make it seem fake. You know, we wanted more authenticity. So we wanted to be able to kind of catch people in a natural environment, a natural state, versus being kind of uncomfortable in an interview setting, you know, where they feel like they have to say certain things or they have to sway different ways. We can talk to them more natural and get their honest, true feelings about how they felt about things going on in their communities and what they would look more forward to in the future, I guess.
So how did you and the people you worked with accomplish that during the interviews? Because I know that can be difficult.
Right. So the way we did that was, you know, we started a group chat for all of us, and then we all kind of individually spoke to one another like, hey, so my schedule is like this, my schedule is like this. What days are you free? What hours can we manage? And me and my partner, particularly, what we did was at one point she actually went to a different county where I went to a different county, and then we sort of like spoke to different groups at the same time. So this way we could then come back and collaborate more so on, okay, who said what, and kind of gather our information. And I think for everybody else, you know, it was more or less just like we had to schedule group time to all meet to create then the final pieces and to ensure that we each had, you know, the appropriate amount of information for each particular area.
Yeah, definitely. What were you surprised by when you were doing this research? Because I know with the class, you all read the book, and then you met with the professor and talked with these, just trying to figure out how best to conduct these interviews. But what were you not prepared for? What surprised you with actually executing the process? I think what kind of did surprise me a little bit was people who did say no.
Actually, that really did kind of surprise me, because in Wisconsin, and particularly here, you can go up to almost anybody and start a conversation, and it could go on for as long as you wanted to. Everyone's genuinely friendly. Everyone does love to conversate a lot. So the few people that we did meet who were like kind of like, no, I'm not really interested, it was kind of standoffish. You know, I was always being polite, but kind of thing. But I think for me, that was kind of a little bit of like, oh, wow, you don't want to talk about your community or things going on? And I can understand where they're coming from, because, you know, if you're around other people, even if you're friends, you know, your opinions, your beliefs are your own. So when you're saying certain things, you may trigger something else in somebody else. So I understood where they were coming from, but I think that was kind of a little disappointing, actually. I really did want to be able to talk with a lot of different people, and I'm thankful for the groups that we did have, but I wanted to talk more so, especially to those people who did say no. It was rather unfortunate, you know, because they would have been really good voices to hear from, I guess.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So with the focus groups or just kind of the community outreach you did do, what were some of the things, the main points, but also what to you and your partner, what were like the takeaways or the things that you thought were worthwhile to focus in on?
I think it was really interesting just to be able to listen to other people. I don't think, you know, going through as I've grown up, I think the hardest thing for a lot of people to do is to listen, to just really sit down and turn off their mouths for a second or two and just really listen in on what people are trying to address. And, you know, people had all sorts of different kinds of issues. You know, there was things with education, Foxconn, gun control, the difference between liberalism and conservative, Democrats, Republicans. You know, everyone had all these different issues. But when you take all of those things and then you listen to the underlying issues of what people felt, you know, their distinct emotions that came along as they were, their flexion and the volume, the tone of their voices, and the way they would look at you. You know, there was sincerity in how much they cared about their communities, and so I think the takeaway from all those different conversations to me was that, like, these people do care, and I was thankful that they were able to speak to me about it, you know. But I think that more going on, especially for our generation and lower, I think it really is important for us now more than ever to really be saying a lot more within our communities, and to know that you have volume, that you do have some piece of the power. You know, that's obviously tilted a little bit more so to one end than the other, but everyone has a little bit that they can say and be a part of. You know, there's something you can be a part of. And I think that the more people really recognize that they have a voice, the more so they can be an influence, you know, or be influential in their communities. Otherwise, you know, nothing is going to happen, and all the same things are just going to keep going over and over in a recycle.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome. So building on that, with that kind of giving people the power to use their voice, did you find anything or discuss with others in the group, in the class, how that can be accomplished?
I think we did sit down a few times, and even then during the meeting that we had at Parkside, I think a lot of brilliant ideas came about, and I think everyone in our group who worked on this project is all brilliant in their own ways, and they all have ideas. There's ideas there, and there's drive, and there's momentum and passion to, you know, obviously when you're going into college, you want to choose a field that you feel is the most interest to you. And politics for a lot of kids isn't really something that they want to get into right away. You know, maybe it was a second or third choice, or maybe it was they didn't have no choice. You know, they just chose a degree in whatever. But the people who I felt like we worked with, or I worked with, really enjoy politics and really enjoy helping people. When it comes down to it, they want change, they want difference, and they want it for their culture and the things that they grew around. They want better for themselves and for the people that they're around, because they have seen some kind of indifference, they have seen some kind of violence, they have seen aggression in some way, you know, and they want that to change, all for a greater good, you know. And all these things take time, but I think our group has great ideas. We manage very well on how to come together and to sort out all these different ideas, no matter what sides of the spectrum we came from. And when it came to building up the project at the end, I think it was easy because, you know, we all have voices, we all have very strong opinionated voices, but in the end, because we just wanted to get this project together, I think knowing that that we just had to come to one idea basically in the end for things, I think that kind of helped everyone kind of like sort out what areas like they were most preferred to versus not, and that kind of helped organize everything all together. So
kind of that having a mutual end goal helps you put aside the differences you had to work together?
Yeah. So when you have that mutual end goal, everyone's kind of like, okay, I'll put some other things to the side for right now, and for the sake of the group, you know, let's get it all done the way we just need to, you know. So you put aside egos and everything else, and everything just sort of comes together the way it needs to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really encouraging to see that even in a group where I know that some of the people had very differing political views, even within that small class, and that's in
Right.
one aspect of just university, and much less that being in society. So
Well, yeah, and that's kind of like the idea, right? Is that like colleges and life and many different places. We all come from all these different backgrounds, but the idea is that we all really do have one end goal, so to speak, and so we all want to be able to achieve that. And I think it's really we just need to kind of set aside differences and just come together to meet that particular end goal.
It's awesome.
For the greater good, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess just moving forward, do you have any plans as far as continuing to work with the class, or is there anything in the works with that?
We tend to always be in the same classes, it seems like, all the time, including you.
Yeah.
So all of us always seem to kind of, and you know, of course, being with the PSG, you know, I
Which
think
is the
that,
Parkside student government for those at home.
so I think being kind of like in that area automatically kind of all puts us into the same kind of groups and stuff. I'd hope to be able to work alongside any of them. I think that they're all brilliant, and I think they all bring great, fantastic ideas, and you know, I guess we'll just see what the future holds. Otherwise, we just choose the same classes every time.
Yeah.
So,
what would you say from this experience of the politics of resentment and the building bridges and the knowing our neighbors talk? What would you say was just, do you have like a takeaway or something that you want to share with others that you felt like was a valuable thing for you?
I think after reading the book initially, I started to sense some changes within just Kenosha alone. Right? I actually went up north a couple weekends ago, and so I kind of took what I had from what I gained from that book, and I really started to actually picture everything exactly how the book studied it. You know, how Kathy like studied everything, and then took the differences between us, you know, from down here in Southeast all the way up to, you know, Ladysmith, which is like up near Minnesota.
Yeah.
So it's a really big difference. It's a really small population, less than 1,000 people, and wow, it was mind blowing. You really do start to see how people really do kind of like you stand out, to say the least, right? Like, you know, I'm coming in with like, you know, a nicer car, and I don't think it's nice, but to them, they might look at me and be like, well, this guy's a jerk, you know, and, or because I come from the city, you know, automatically I'm kind of like already put into that kind of like area of, oh, well, you know, they get more money than us, or because they have better jobs or something else, you know, everything that was viewed in from that book, I was really trying to take away from that, and it was really like, wow, like it really is different. And there is a huge disconnect between, you know, rural areas and urban areas, and the way that we see the world. You know, these views are completely different. Yeah. And I never used to realize that growing up, you know, and I guess as an adult too, you start to mature and you start to kind of like turn yourself off, you know, and kind of like take in everything that's around you. And so when I did that, yeah, it was really a lot to take in. And it wasn't emotional in that sense of like, oh, what's wrong? But it was more like, wow, like there's a lot that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
You know, and you think growing up in a modern age where we have all these phones and technology that we've surpassed some sort of, I guess, maturity from, you know, previous years, but it's like we still have a lot to learn and we still have a lot to grow in.
Like technology doesn't bridge the gap of human empathy.
Right, and I think human empathy starts with two humans interacting and being like, what are our differences? How can we come to a middle ground? And, you know, kind of like leave being like, okay, well, we come from different areas, but, you know, we can build on a relationship now. And I think here, just in Kenosha, you know, there's a huge difference between certain people, but I think everything starts with speaking up and addressing issues and addressing that we have problems. Yeah. And if we can address that there's problems, then we can start somewhere. But unless we, you know, if we don't do that, we're never going to be able to get anything solved or anything done. Nothing can be accomplished without a problem.
So just kind of not just being upset with the situation, but voicing your upsetness, but also being able to work towards
a goal. Like you complain about things and state that there are issues, but also try to bring a solution to the table. You know, bring something that that we can work on and build. So
awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Looking forward to see what else comes from this project. There's hopefully going to be some more stuff in following semesters with this, and definitely they're going to be building on top of what Tony and the other classmates did during the semester. So thank you again, and best of luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you.